First, let's look at the problem that online video has today. So the first problem that you have is of discovery. So when you look at online video today, you don't really understand what is the context behind the video. And for this purposes, most of the time, people or consumers don't click on the video because they don't really understand as much as to what they're spending time with. And on top of that, you have 40% of the thumbnails today that on the internet that are misleading. And this misleading thumbnails is most probably because people want to entice the click so that they can run a pre-roll. But once the pre-roll is done, the content is actually nothing that you actually promised. You were promised when you actually enticed them to click in. The second issue is engagement. In terms of engagement, once you do end up liking a video, you probably like a certain segment or a certain clip of the video. But how do you actually end up sharing that video? Today, the way you share the video is basically end up the whole video onto the social network, and then you basically say, comment that watch this video from 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And this creates problems in terms of how people really engage from the perspective of metrics. Today, when video is actually discovered, it's usually discovered through view count. And the view count says this video was viewed for 1 million times. But then again, what was interesting inside of the video as to why this particular video was viewed 1 million times? And that information is very important from the perspective of content discovery, as well as from the perspective of publisher who likes to understand how their content is performing out in the internet. So the last issue is monetization. Today, the only way to monetize online video is through pre-roll advertising. And in terms of pre-roll advertising, you're expecting the consumer to click through and watch the pre-roll when they actually don't understand the content. And then if you happen to be a YouTube player, what really happens here is that you end up really annoying your consumer by throwing in banner ads on top of the player. And even if your content is really good, you're basically destroying the whole content experience. So our solution to that is a platform and a format called Videogram. And what Videogram is that it analyzes video for color, motion, image similarity, and clip duration. And combination of these, it basically produces a pictorial summary of the video. So in here, what you're seeing here is basically a reverse storyboard of the video. So from the perspective of the consumption, with one glance, your consumer is now able to understand the context of the video. And on top of that, you will actually notice certain frames are larger and certain frames are smaller. The larger frames, as per the algorithm, are important because they have some kind of motion or they have some kind of image similarity. So the discovery is much, much, much more immersive when compared to a single frame, keyframe embed that you see on the internet today. And on top of that, it's a responsive design. So our system basically doesn't really have any issues in terms of how which device or which real estate is used in order to display the videogram. So give us any landing page, an embed, give us a mobile device, give us a smart TV. We are able to actually segment that and show you the videogram that's specific to that particular device. So for an iPhone 3, let's say iPhone 4 or iPhone 5, you might have a 5-frame videogram, whereas for a smart TV, you might have like a 12 or 14-frame videogram. So, and then we're compatible with pretty much any video players out there. So what we are not is we're not a streaming solution, nor are we a hosting solution. We are basically a user experience on top of existing platforms. So whether it be YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, Oyala, Brightcove, Kaltura, or your own proprietary players and platform, it doesn't matter to us. We basically index the videos, and once the video is indexed, basically the bookmarks are created, and once those bookmarks are created, when you click into any frame, it'll stream from your platform. So which basically means that copyrights, digital rights management, any pre-rolls that you might have on your video asset on the back end remains intact. We don't disrupt it, and nor do we alter it. Okay, there we go. Sorry, there was a bit of a glitch. So on top of that, once the discovery is enabled, we are able to now throw in social layer. This is something that you don't see in any of the video players today. The fact that we have this whole asset within described in a storyboard, the consumer is able to now click on any asset or any frame that's of importance to them, and then consume the content from that particular frame. So this allows for them to snack on content and basically click to consume what they really like to consume, not from the beginning, from the point of wherever that is that their interest is. And besides that, we also enable social commenting, just like SoundCloud does for audio, we do for video. You're able to basically pick any particular segment of interest, and you're able to comment on that segment. And the comment is attached to that particular frame or segment, and consumption basically happens from that particular point when somebody clicks in through the social networks. So in this case, you're noticing here, this particular segment is now being posted to Facebook. The consumer picked the keyframe. The keyframe is then posted into the social network with a contextual commenting that has a clear communication between what the image is and what the message is. And on top of that, what we do is once the videogram is produced initially, it's produced through system means, but we don't stop there. We think that as soon as the videogram is in the public domain, your consumers are clicking on different frames, they're clicking on different comments, they're actually liking it. We keep track of that, and we enable the videogram to grow. So on day 1, the videogram might look like this. On day 30, if you notice, there are certain frames that are trending. And these frames are trending because your crowd or your consumer base is basically interacting on these frames, and they're making it much more discoverable. So even if a person comes in on day 1 and they see the content, and they consume the content, and day 30, the same person comes back and actually sees that content is starting to look different because a lot of other people are interacting on certain frames, and they're making those frames interesting. And the same person will actually re-interact with that content and start to consume that again. So what happens here is that today, if you look at pre-roll, most of the pre-roll is in front of the video, and it's not really very, it's very intrusive because you're expecting your consumer to actually watch an ad even before they understand what the content is. And this is one of the reasons why you have the skip. The skip basically is a close button for an ad, and it's not very effective. But from our perspective, what we really think is that once you have a trending frame or a trending segment, why not position a pre-roll in front of that? The motivation is higher now for the consumer to actually listen and watch through the pre-roll because they understand the context, and they've sampled some frames, and they've actually experienced that this is something that is interesting to them. On top of that, we actually enable what CPM-based advertising as well. So the videogram has many frames. Some of those frames can be swapped in with a display ad. So in this case, it's over-the-top monetization. Even if your consumer is not clicking into the video, the fact that they're browsing through your website and encountering the videogram, as a publisher, you're making money because it's basically display advertising. And the display advertising can go a bit further. We can actually make this into a CPC or a CPS. Clicking on any one of those frames that has an ad associated with it can actually go into a commerce and have a completion on that. So Videogram is a platform with many use cases. We are basically a social embed, which is, we can tweet us onto a Twitter platform or a Facebook. You can also embed us in websites. You could even take our libraries and make your apps, wherever the video is in your apps, make it look like a Videogram and have all the social features associated with it. And you can also use Videogram as an ad unit. Anywhere that there is a banner space on a website or a mobile device, you can pretty much get that ad unit in a Videogram format. In this case, the top level ad unit is basically an animated GIF that gives you a summary of the video, and the 4 frames underneath is of importance. And if you happen to be a multi-channel network, you can take all of our features that I showcased you today, and we provide a white label. And you could pretty much brand the multi-channel network with your own brand. Using our technologies and platform, you can power it and make it much more interesting and much more monetizable. So thank you very much. As of today, we've been used by a lot of publishers around the world. We have we work with CNN and the CBCs and the NBCs and Fox and even smaller brands as well. And we would love to work with you. If you need more information, please come up and talk to us at the booth back there. Thank you very much.